Hey, we are back with another episode of the CEO Pulse podcast, where you get the real, the raw, and the mind of entrepreneurship. Right now, we are sitting down with Ola Dantes. He's a real estate investor all the way from the UK. So he came over from the UK 7 years ago. Now, he's the founder and CEO of a multifamily investment syndication firm, and he's totally crushing it in the States. Welcome to the show, man. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you so much, Rafael. Really glad to be here with you.
Cool. Yeah. So I can do the intro, but I really want to get your point of view on things. It really amazes me when somebody hits the ground running in their entrepreneur journey. There's the idea or the connotation often is that things are so hard, especially if you're from different countries or you come from a different place. And I mean you're killing it. You're sourcing deals of over $40 million and that sort of thing. So how do you get to that point so fast, and how do you hit the ground running like you have? So tell us a bit about you and how that process goes.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for that intro. I wish I can get my wife to hear that intro all the time. There's always a background, right? People hear that story and they go, oh, wow, this guy, maybe he's lucky or whatever. But I like to kind of just give some context, right? Give some meat to that.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get to that point? So,
please.
Yeah. So my wife and I moved here, 7 years ago, like you said. Shortly thereafter, she got a job. Shortly thereafter, I got a job,
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, in America, the American dream, we wake up, go to work, come back
home,
wake up.
Yeah. It's either the American dream or the rat race, right? With the
they're interchangeable, right?
Yeah, with children standing on.
Right. And I was kind of just feeling that same thing you mentioned, like, hey, am I just gonna do this? Go to work, come home, go to work, traffic. Is this it? And I'm gonna die? And I was just thinking, I think there's something much more that I can do, but I didn't quite know what that is, right? So I was kind of wrestling with that thought. And a friend of mine from the UK actually called me and said, hey, I want you to meet me in Dubai. I'm going to Dubai to meet some investors, and I want you to come to Dubai and help me with my business. So obviously I did what every smart man does. I prayed about it, and then I asked my wife, like, hey, my friend called me and said I should, fly to Dubai to meet him. I mean, This was way before, the pandemic, right? Everyone's doing Zoom call now, but she was like, can you guys go on Skype or FaceTime call or,
can you do it from here? Were you already here?
I was already here, right? Cool. So this was after, I got a job, living the American dream, right? So, So anyway, long story short, I was on the flight to Dubai, got to Dubai, and I was kind of helping my friend's business, just masterminding on the business. And I realized, how much money it was making. And the business it was in was real estate investing, right? In the UK. And I was like, oh my goodness. So on my way back to America, on the plane, I was like, maybe I can do this stuff in America. I mean, I'm looking for something to do on the side. Like, maybe I can do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, when I go back to America, I went straight to my best friend, Google. I just started Googling and like, what is this real estate thing? How can I get started? And then one website kept coming up, Bigger Pockets.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to that website. Yeah.
That website is huge.
Yeah. It's just amazing, right? I went there and then I got plugged into their podcast, just like your podcast. Yeah, I started listening to other podcasts. But one thing stuck out for me, right? Every guest kept mentioning this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'm like, who is this Rich Dad, Poor Dad guy? So I went to my second best friend, pay attention, Amazon.com, For you to be successful in life, you got to be able to source information off of Google, and you've got to be able to read, right? You just have to just feed your mind constantly, right? So I bought this book, right? And I read it. And I was like, oh my God, whoever this guy, Robert Kiyosaki, he stole my idea, right? Like, this is exactly what I've been trying to say. There's gotta be more to life than this. And shortly thereafter, we bought our first building, which was, a duplex in a Class A area in Baltimore, Maryland. And to add to that, right, after we bought the duplex, we had tenants upstairs, paying most of the mortgage. So, just on a standard night, doing what lovers do, my wife and I, we were at home cooking dinner, right?
Yeah.
And I said to her, like, hey, we've bought this building and, my account is just growing. My account is just growing. Normally I get paid, it goes out. Get paid, goes out. actually have money. Like money comes into my Bank of America and it actually stays there. Like
And
this
it
is kind of
stays
cool.
there. Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
So, that epiphany was kind of what made us think, hold on a second, if we did this 4, 5, 6 times, we wouldn't have to go to any work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what started my journey in buying apartments. So shortly thereafter, I found a mentor, a paid mentor, who helped me to learn how to buy apartments. And, as I say, the rest is history. I set up the company in Dwelling. I don't know if folks can see this on the video, if you're on the video, and that's kind of how we started the company. And, here we are.
Wow. Wow. And that means, so that moved, quite fast. You're talking about you coming back to the States and then doing some research. And then you went, straight into buying your first, was it a 2-unit? Is that what you said?
It was a 2-unit, correct. Yeah. I mean,
Cool.
it's just like this obsession, right?
Yeah.
Many people are trying to figure out like, how do I become successful? How do I get there? It's really that, just sheer hard work and being obsessed, right, with whatever it is you're chasing, right? You can't be like, kind of dilly-dallying, like, hey, maybe I want to do real estate today. Maybe it's wholesaling. Maybe it's Amazon dropship. No, like, dude, you got to focus, like laser focus, go at it, and then take action. That's simply how it's done. But you got to understand the power of discipline and sheer force. There's no messing around. You got to go at it and go hard.
One of the things that I always talk about with my coaching students is well, it's 2 things actually. One is massive imperfect action. So massive imperfect action is great. Often, like we want to sit down as entrepreneurs or beginning. We have all kinds of doubts, and we want to figure everything out in paper, lay it all out step by step, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's impossible. Why? Because you don't have that experience under your belt yet, right? So the way to make leaps and bounds, just like you have, is it's massive and perfect action. I'm pretty sure you didn't have all the answers as to, the property management, how you were going to handle the whole thing, what it was going to look like, and taking that, that leap of faith in yourself, as an entrepreneur. I mean, it's really what makes the magic happen.
Absolutely. I mean, if I had to think about every little simple steps, like I would just be paralyzed by, what we call analysis paralysis, right? So I didn't know that, and I was, acutely aware of that, right? So I just kind of went at it.
Yeah, no, also there's this psychologically, we get triggered with a period of euphoria when we have this new idea pop up, when we have this new thing, new concept or whatever, it's a period of euphoria, right? And especially in business, if you don't take advantage of it, think about it as like the nitro booster fuel inside a car. You push a button and then poof, take off, right? But it only lasts so long. You have to take advantage of that space. Otherwise, your motivation, your drive, how excited you are about it, it's going to start to dwindle and drop.
Absolutely.
So you started with that, and then set up, obviously set up a business. How did that grow into a syndication, and how did you start to manage the whole business ownership process of it?
Yeah, and that's a fantastic question, but I can't just skip that step, because there's a really big part of the story I really want to touch on. So, like I said, we bought this duplex, things were great, it was cash flowing well. Any normal person, logical person would go, let me do this again, right? Rinse and repeat, right?
Yeah, rinse and repeat.
Yeah, right. But obviously I'm not logical. I wasn't then.
Most entrepreneurs are not.
I met this guy, this partner, and said, hey, Ola, let's go flip some houses down the street and we'll make $50,000 a pop. I was like, I like that idea, So I caught what we call the shiny object syndrome, right? I did this duplex, I did it very well. It was doing really well. And then I changed strategy midway, right? Mm-hmm. I was experimenting, even though I haven't, really like built on my current strategy. So I went into flipping. We did a few deals. I realized that I was a perfectionist. I wanted to go to my project every day and tell the painters how, they're not painting the corners of the doors. And, I was picking on every little thing.
Oh, yeah. Micromanaging kind of stuff. Yeah.
So, I learned about myself that, I could look at this thing on HGTV, and Joanna Gaines makes it look easy and cheap. But, but for me, it just was not my thing. Right. But right. I broke away a little bit from my mentor and my syndication group, right? Because obviously in life, this is one of my classic, lines, right? In life, there's always a price to pay, and there are no discounts, right?
Wow.
There are no discounts. You're going to have to pay that full price. So I left for like a year or so, just a year, almost 2 years actually, to go flip. But then, I wasn't doing my apartment syndication, right? I set up my business, dwelling was set up, we're looking at deals, underwriting deals, I was going through the course, but then I went to flip, right? So after, we did okay, with the flips. I still own some of those properties actually, in Baltimore, even though I'm now in Texas. I'll get to that as well. So when I got back to my syndication group, all my friends were buying 100 units in Arizona. They were buying deals in Oklahoma. And I was like, oh my goodness, like I was down the street, covered in dust, trying to flip this house, fighting with the city. Yeah, right. So you gotta be careful. And the reason I bring this story up for your listeners, pay attention, is every time you move away from your path, be acutely aware of the price that you pay for that move, right? And is it worth it, right? And there's a metric, right, I'm really, really, really focused on right now. It's return on stress, right? Everybody talks about return on investment, cash and cash, IRR, the different orders we have in our syndication structure. But what about return on stress? That's very important. I've got a wife and 2 kids. I've got a really busy life. So I got to manage that metric just as much as I need to give my investors a good ROI. I need to make sure I'm getting a really a good number when it comes to return on stress. I want to keep that number super low. Okay. So, but anyway, as I got back to my syndication group, I was able to just plug right in. Right. So what I've realized in life and in real estate investing, you can go flip a house down the street. Nobody's going to bother you. Nobody's going to care. Like you're just John flipping the street, the house down the street. But now that you want to buy an apartment building, there are going to be forces that would show up.
What do you mean by that?
Right. It's just a different game. You need a team. I have I'm speaking to like 3. I've got a deal on the contract right now, a multifamily building here in Houston right now. And I've got a meeting in the SEC, at 9:00. We have a daily meeting. I've got attorneys, lenders, title guys, all kinds of people that you have to deal with, right? You cannot do this on your own. So I realized I had to partner with people to buy apartments. So that's what I did, right? I partnered with one of the, a couple of the guys on our group. We have a close, very tight-knit group in my mentor group, my cohort. And we bought our first deal in Houston, Texas. It was a 160 unit deal that we bought. And, we could only do it together as a team, not by myself. And as I'm getting older, I'm realizing the insufficiency of myself. Right. And I'm coming to embrace that. Right. What in your 20s, you're like, I can do everything. I can. No. I'm not trying to do
you have
everything.
all the answers.
Right. I'm like, I have zero business trying to do everything. I want to delegate. Right. And look for people who are fantastically good at what they do, so I can focus on what I'm fantastically good at. Right. And together collectively, that's how we win.
I love it, man. It's you're tapping into a lot of like 3 big things that I really, that I talk about often, but I think they're almost, cornerstones of having a solid foundation. And you talk about the return on stress, which is, I call it picking your headaches, right? You want to pick your headaches. Does it make sense? Not just because there's a monetary return, you're gonna jump into a project like that, but you're also talking about the power of the network. One of the things that I overlooked was when I started in business in general was networking. I did not, try to build relationships or try to connect and try to find somebody who I could provide value to and build with, because I could do it all. In my head, I could do it all. I had, I don't know the answer to that, but I'm going to figure it out. And I had, that false sense of security. However, that's the long play. It's the long-term play. You move a lot faster when you're moving with people. And so I didn't really network, and I didn't build a power team. And now it's one of the things that I highly, highly emphasize whenever somebody's tapping into somebody. Even again, back to my coaching students, it's when we start building the business, one of the first things that we do or that we focus in is we already have the network because they're tapped into the coaching and all that, right? But we start building their own power team, which is what you're talking about. Your power team is what's going to get you there. It's you're in your case, right? It's going to be your title company, your money partners, and the people that you can go to on the fly. In somebody else's vertical, it may be providers, and maybe trainers, coach, or whatever, right? But you build that little that small sphere of power players that complement you. That way, that way you're not stretching yourself thin trying to learn how to do everything, and you actually have somebody who knows how to do it, and they're way better than you at knocking that stuff out.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right, Rafael. Right, but it's also like mindset, right? It's that you really been aware that my brain is somehow telling me that I can do this by myself. So you have to separate yourself from your brain. Yeah. Right? And say, hey, dude, you can't do this by yourself. Like you tried. You need
ego can be tricky. Ego can sneak in and then play tricks on you.
Exactly.
Make you think, make us think that we're a lot smarter than we actually.
Yeah. So I think that's really important too. And I'm really big on mindset. I think that's actually what has gotten me to where I am today. So I really want to focus on that too. Because that is really where the rubber hits the ground, right? When you can really separate, what's going on up there with what you're seeing, in your reality. So key.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So what does that look like to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think mindset for me personally is, it's going to sound weird, is discipline, right? Your mindset should be really tied to your discipline. So first and foremost, what do you do when nobody's watching? That's mindset and discipline together. Yeah. That's how you make mindset. Well, have you ever met someone that, they're like, their mindset is right, they're great, but there's just something missing about that person? It's like
self-accountability or how you do one thing is how you do everything, right?
Exactly. So, for me, we've been really talking about mindset a lot. I love mindset. You go on Instagram, but it's not just mindset, right? What about your soul set? What about your health set? What about your heart set? Right? So you're going to combine all of that, right? I'm not that smart. I read that in a book, Robert Sharman, talked about this. So you have to make sure you have a combination of all of these elements to really get to that superior level, right? So you can't just say, I'm going to, listen to motivational videos all the time. Yeah, right? But what if you're not actually reading the technical details that will help you do a fantastic wholesale deal, right? Or a fantastic commercial deal, right? You have to have both, right? But when I talk about discipline, I want to go back to that. When you wake up, right, what are you going to do for that day? Right? Some people wake up and go, oh, I don't know what to do with today. Like, dude, go back to sleep. Like you
dream something and then wake up. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you got to be grateful that you even got up, right? Right now, as we're recording this, 400,000 people have died of coronavirus, sadly. Right. So if we're waking up, like you got to be able to say, this is what I'm doing. So for me, I wake up, I meditate. Right. I drink my oolong Chinese tea, I go for my run or my walk 3 miles. I do all those things because I'm trying to hit, heart set, right? Health set, soul set, mindset. You got to hit those things. But if you can't do those things consistently for almost 365 days in a year, how can you send a newsletter in your business every month? Like it's the same principle.
Oh, yeah.
It's all tied together. So when we talk about mindset, let's connect it, right, to all the parts of one's life, right? So I think that is what mindset looks like for me. But also to end this, to kind of end the mindset piece, it's really being aware of our journey to the end, right? There's a book called Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. And he talks about the ruling principle, which is basically the brain, how you think about yourself. But he also talked a lot about death. Right? I mean, it's really morbid. Nobody wants to talk about death. But if you understand that you don't have enough time on this planet, like you just start to move a lot quicker, right? And a lot smarter.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it sets you, and I've read that book. It's a really good book, Meditations, Marcus Aurelius. There's a couple of different versions out there, but on that section, it did really land. It resonates. A lot of times people ask, like, why do you do so much? Why don't you just relax? Why don't you, like, you know what, I don't want to. And it's not a matter of, it's not a matter of greed or overachievement or just, you know, keep testing the boundaries or anything like that. It's just coming from a space of why not? If we have a limited time on this earth to make an impact, and we have a limited time on this earth to put something good out there that's going to help somebody else. And at least, you know, that's how I see it in my perspective. And why not? Why not go to town on that? Why not wake up with that fire every morning and then use it? It's amazing what happens when you start operating from that space, when you start holding that space for yourself and think about contribution, think about helping others. What comes back, it's almost... it's unbelievable.
Tenfold. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not, for example, when I started, and you bring a really good point when you talk about death. That's why I'm pulling on this thread. But it's when I started thinking about the allotted time that we have here. It's like, all right, cool. I can do my stuff, but you know what? I can still make a dent somewhere in somebody else's life. I can still, you know, shine some light on some of the challenges that I had, you know, when I was starting my first business at 21, and you know, help somebody that's going through that process. And that, you know, that came up, and I set out to do a couple of things, and I started helping, you know, a few people here and there. But then what I was not accounting for was going to come back. You know, the different opportunities, the increased excitement about doing things, you know, the helping high that you get whenever you do something great, the contribution, the gratitude that comes along with it. It's just amazing. It's amazing. But yeah, we have a very small amount of time on this earth, so why not do everything that we can? Why not?
Yeah, it's that philosophy of how can I help? How can I serve? How can I give back? As opposed to take, right? And I think in our Instagram, you know, instant gratification world, you know, we've come to just be so self-aggrandizing that we're not thinking about, you know, how can I help others, right? How can I? And help doesn't actually mean to give in monetary terms, right? Help could be sending love, right? Help could be just sharing an idea. Help could be just listening to someone who calls you, right? You know, so people think, oh, if I need to, you know, help someone, I need to give, like, you know, tangibly. No, you can give intangibly, right? Just by being there for someone.
Yeah, being there, you know, through a prayer or a meditation, even, and it's that lands. I don't know how it works. I just know that it does.
It does work.
It's
absolutely.
It's kind of like
part of the secret sauce.
Yeah, the secret sauce. It's electricity, right? You turn it on and it gets bright.
Yes.
The details of it, I'm not.
That's not our business. We just turn the switch on. Yes.
Yeah, turn the switch on. That's as far as my expertise goes. And then, you know, you don't turn it on, it's dark. But it's the same thing. It's the same way with contribution, with you know, adding value to putting, you know, good stuff out there, and you know, when you operate from that space, amazing things happen. The right people start to find you, connect with you, or want to do business with you, or give opportunities over to you because, you know, you can handle them, or they, you know, they feel like, you know, they're in a good spot when they're with you. So it's just amazing. Can't emphasize.
Totally agree.
Yeah. So no, I love it. I have a similar routine for mindset, and I try to stick to it religiously. Keyword try. Sometimes I'll wake up and then I get caught up blindsided by the day, but usually I handle my my stuff, meditation, you know, workout, you know, my space for creativity and all that in the mornings, and then I dive into the taskiness of the day, right? The doingness. So going back to a little bit to the entrepreneur experience. So you're very well balanced when it comes to action, right? The action, but you're also connected to the self, and you have that dialed in. I think those really, I mean, they're like the two most underrated elements that any entrepreneur can have. I think we either focus too much on the doing, on the doing, and the doing. That's how burnout happens, or focus too much on the mindset, and there's no doing, so nothing happens. So
you just become a motivated fool, right? You're just constantly motivated, but you're not doing anything.
Yeah. There's this story my mom and I talked about a couple of times, and there used to be this guy when I was little. He would always walk around with his little portfolio under his arm, and my mom used to own this small grocery store, and I was little, and I would look at the guy, and I really thought like he was he was doing something, like, because he was always walking around with a little portfolio, and then he looked the part. And he would go over to a little grocery store and then open up a bottle of Coke, and then drink the Coke there, spend 30 minutes, and then he would leave. And I would think that he had something to do, right? And she goes, "You remember that guy? Yeah, he had no job. He was jobless. He just looked like he was doing stuff." And he would always talk about success. He would always talk about experiences and or doing the thing, but he never did anything. Like, all he did was I guess collect money somehow, some way, go buy a Coke, and then drink it, and then go back to his thing. But you can't, you have to be somewhere in the middle. Action has to play a big part. And when you connect that with the self, when you connect that with the willingness to help, I mean, that's when really, I think the secret sauce, like you called it earlier, happens.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the funniest story ever. Yeah.
Wow, man, they forgot. I totally forgot about that. It just it came back. Thank you. So, if somebody's thinking about becoming an entrepreneur and taking a leap and betting on themselves, what do you think are the top 3 things they need to focus on?
Oh man, that is such a good question. That's like a whole nother podcast. But I mentioned something, right? I moved from Baltimore, Maryland, to Houston. For anyone still paying attention to this podcast, I also moved from the United Kingdom to the United States. Number one thing as an entrepreneur that people tend to forget is sacrifice. Sacrifice. You can't not miss it. You can't tell life, hey, life, I want to be successful. Life is like sitting on an armchair looking at you saying, who the hell do you think you are?
Yeah.
You're not just going to come and be successful. Do you know what it takes to be Elon Musk? Do you know the sacrifices that these people have to go through? So you must be able to tell life, I can go through hell and high water to get to my dream because I know my why, right? So that's like critical, right? You got to understand that, people is like, oh, you just moved to Houston. Yeah, we came here on a Saturday. We looked at like 20 houses. We bought one. And the next month we moved. My wife was pregnant. I had a little baby. This was before the lockdown, right? Wow. And that was in January of, 2020, right? And then 2 months into that, they shut the whole country down, right? I'm going to Houston, Texas. We're going to buy apartments. I'm pumped up. Shut the country down. Interestingly, though, I am now under contract on a multifamily building in Houston. So a year ago, we moved and things happened. You got to be able to you said a word, bet. You got to be able to bet on yourself, right? That's number one. Number two, discipline. You can't miss that. I'm sorry. Like, you can't, right? I mean, you have to be like military style discipline. You have to have that, right? That consistency is what pays, right? Your discipline is going to drag you, right, all the way through luck, right? People say, some people are lucky. Yes, because they work so hard, and discipline allows that to happen, right? So number one, sacrifice. Number two, discipline. Number three, oh my goodness, self-confidence. It's like the story you told. That guy had that portfolio all the time. Comes into your shop, drinks a Coke. You're like, I like this guy. I don't know what he's about this guy.
I thought he was loaded. I thought he was swimming in money. That's what
exactly. You gotta have that self. You can't be like, timid. I don't know what to say. No, you gotta come strong. You gotta come correct. You gotta come sharp, right? Because in business, language and persuasion is key. People forget that. Like, if you can write well and if you can speak well, oh man, you were dangerous. You were dangerous, right? So, but this exudes through self-confidence, right? If you can speak, you can go on a stage and talk, right, to a room full of thousands of people, or you can write an email and persuade the other person to do what you want them to do, that's gold, right? So 3 things. Number 1, sacrifice. Number 2, discipline. Number 3, self-confidence. You got to have, those are like the 3 golden nuggets that you would become unstoppable.
I love it, man. You're completely right. You are completely right. I think they having those 3 in the toolbox, right? Entrepreneur's toolbox is it's priceless. You can have one without the other, but again, like for example, this guy had a lot of confidence, but the sacrifice wasn't there. Yeah. And I don't know, I'm gonna keep going back to this one guy because it just popped in my head today, but it's a perfect example. The confidence part, it's a cornerstone, right? But it's I think with that, the premise for it is self-belief. You have to believe that you can do it. You have to believe that you already have the tools, that you have everything, that you're worthy, that you're capable of doing things, and start believing that and adopting it as part of you. And then the confidence levels are gonna take care of themselves, right? But you have to get to that place where you can perform, speak, communicate confidently. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. It begins with belief in yourself. I think I love it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. I appreciate that, and those are huge. So, if you were walking down the street and you were to run into your 17-year-old self, and you're back in the UK, and then you're walking around, and then you see Ola walking down the street, what would you tell that kid?
I'd be like, dude, go buy a ton of real estate, go buy a ton of Google stock, Facebook stock, Tesla stock, and a bunch of Bitcoin. That's what I'm going to say.
Wow. Move it. Take action.
Yep. And sell it when you're 35.
I love it, brother. So awesome, man. Yeah. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, or invest in your guys' projects, how do somebody gets to you fast?
Yeah, I just threw up, a backdrop, for anyone on YouTube or whatever just watching, but it's investwithola.com. So investwithola.com. That'll take you through to our website, and obviously you can, reach out to us on there. If you're on Instagram, I'm on Instagram, just Google my name or just go on Instagram and search for Ola Dantis, OLADANTIS, and just, hit me up, DM me, tell me you heard me on the, on Rafael's show. I'll be more than happy to talk to you.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Well, once again, brother, thank you for stopping by, and your story is amazing. What you have to share is amazing. I really admire how well balanced and you are on both sides, on the beingness and the doingness, and then building this business and sharing your whole experience with us. So truly an inspiration. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for what you're doing. I really appreciate it.
I'll talk to you soon, brother. Boom, it's a wrap. You just got a backstage pass to the real, the raw, and the mind of entrepreneurship. Make sure you follow us on YouTube and iTunes, and check out our website at ceopulse.com. Stay tuned, stay focused. You got this.